Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my channel if you are new here. My name is Kristen Martin. I am the author of 10 books and counting. I'm a writing coach, I'm an intuitive, a psychic medium. Essentially, when you put all of that together, I'm what you would call a creative entrepreneur because I create for a living. I'm also a new mom. Wrong side, she turned her head. To little Miss Ivy here. So she is almost 3 months old as I'm filming this video. And I'm hoping that me kind of standing up, because I'm normally sitting down when I film these how-to videos, I'm hoping that my standing up and kind of like moving around, walking around isn't too distracting, but I'm hoping that she will stay asleep. But I'm super excited because we are already in our 3rd video of the writing series for this season. And today we're going to talk about something that I love. It's probably it's my 2nd favorite thing to do besides actually writing the book, which is plotting the book. But interestingly enough, as I mentioned in last week's video, I talked about how I more so enjoy the process of writing the book. Like, it's great to have the finished draft and to actually hold your book in your hands once you order a proof copy of it. But when I think about my fondest memories of writing, it's always the process of it. It's like the little things, lighting of the candle, making of the coffee, the envisioning of the scenes in my head, the chapters as I'm writing them. I say that because when it comes to plotting, even though it's something I really enjoy doing, I more or less want to get to the writing phase, like to actually start writing the book. So I prefer to plot my books rather quickly and just kind of brain dump all of the ideas and see what I can come up with. So for today's video, I want to talk about how to plot your book in a day. Because if you're anything like me, time is somewhat limited. We're on a tight schedule here. So when it comes to the plotting piece of it, I'd like to get the ideas down and have some sort of cohesive plan as to how I'm going to actually start writing the book. Also, we have a semi-cloudy day here in Texas, and so I feel like the lighting is going to be going in and out depending on what's going on with the clouds and the sun. But anyways, there are 5 key pieces when it comes to plotting your book in a day. So the first thing that I like to do is to come up with a 1-line pitch for what my new story idea, my new book is going to be about. If that's too difficult, because I know the 1-line pitch is sometimes even harder than writing the book. Same with like the back cover blurb. You'd be surprised at how difficult it is to narrow down your book in just 1 sentence. But that's why I like to do this at the beginning before I've written the book, because obviously it can change as the book gets written. But if you can come up with that 1-line pitch, if someone were to say, hey, what's your book about? And you could only give them 1 sentence, that's what we're going for here. So you want to mention your main character, and you may want to mention your setting if it is especially pertinent to your story. Like if you're writing historical fiction, then the era, the time frame that your book is occurring in is probably going to be really helpful, as well as the conflict and resolution that you want your main character to be going through. And if you can't quite figure that out just yet, then maybe just focus on the theme of your book. And it can also help too if you kind of have an idea of how your book is going to end. You don't have to know the exact details, but if you know it's going to be a happy ending or a sad ending, or there's going to be a huge twist at the end, or if you're writing a series and you kind of want to leave things on a bit of a cliffhanger to kind of lead into the next book, having that information beforehand and upfront is really going to help you when it comes to plotting your book. So the first thing I like to do is come up with that 1-line pitch. If you find that that is a bit too difficult, then just ask yourself what question you're trying to answer in writing this book. Is there a specific journey that the character, the main character, your protagonist, is going on? And do you have a message that you're wanting to convey to the reader? Or as the writer, what message are you wanting to get across to your reader once they read your book? So that's step 1. Step 2 is determining your target audience, or who your reader is, as well as your genre. And I kind of like to lump these two together. So it's good to nail down the genre of your story from the start, because this can really affect things like language, the style of writing, your voice, as well as the overall plot of the book. For example, readers are going to have a different expectation when they're reading a romance novel versus if they're reading a horror novel or a thriller book or crime fiction. And of course, while I always say to write for yourself and not the market, it's important to think about who will eventually be reading your book and to make sure that you're not going to disappoint them. The third piece is story structure. And while there are a lot of elements to the structure of a story, ask yourself, does my story span 1 year or does it span several years, decades even? Are you going to write it in first person or third person? Will your narrator recall events that happened in the past, or is it going to be taking place right here, right now in the present tense? Another thing to consider about your story structure is, do you need more than one voice? For instance, in my Shadow Crown series, you get 5 points of view, and the protagonist, Arden O'Leary, her point of view is written in first person present tense, while the other 4 characters, those points of view that you're getting, are written in third person present tense. And that style may not be for everyone, and that's perfectly okay, but it's about figuring out what is going to work best for your story, for your characters, and how you want the story to come across and be told. For the fourth key piece, we have the protagonist and the antagonist. Again, I put both of these together because as you're plotting your book, you may have ideas for, supplemental characters, for background characters, but it's really important to focus on your protagonist and your antagonist and to just kind of jot down the ideas as they come to you. Most importantly, when plotting your book, I would focus on what is the perspective of the protagonist, what is the perspective of the antagonist, and what journey are they each going to go on, and how are their journeys going to collide, how are they going to cross paths, why are they crossing paths, what is the significance of this event that is happening in your book. The fifth piece is a mini outline called the Act 1, 2, 3 outline, but I actually reverse the numbers and do it as an Act 3, 2, 1 because I always like to start with the end in mind. So in this mini outline, you're essentially just plotting out the events that you've brainstormed. What happens? When does it happen? Where does it happen? Is this a subplot? Is this a part of the main plot? If you're using a 3-act structure, whether it's in order 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1, essentially what you need to do in the beginning in Act 1 is to set up the main conflict and present to the reader what is at stake. And then in Act 2, which is the middle of the book, you're using that time to complicate the story and to develop tension. And that's going to help build towards an exciting climax in Act 3 before resolving any loose ends or any foreshadowing that you had earlier in Act 1 or in Act 2. In the Act 3, 2, 1 outline, you're giving your story an end, a middle, and a beginning, or again, you could do it in 1, 2, 3 order, beginning, middle, end, and making sure to outline the main source of conflict and how it's ultimately going to be resolved. In the Write 50K in 30 Days accountability program that I am hosting this fall, actually we kick off on October 1st, in the workbook, I give you act-specific questions for Act 1, Act 2, Act 3 that you can ask yourself for extra guidance when it comes to plotting your book. Once you have those 5 pieces written down and more or less figured out, you can then move into planning out your chapters, creating your outline, and doing something that I like to call storyboarding, which I was really hoping to make another storyboarding video in this season's fall writing series, but it's going to depend on whether or not I will be baby wearing Ivy during that, because usually I'm on the floor with a poster board and I've got all my index cards and all of that. Also, I'm at a point right now where I am still working on current works in progress, so I'm not storyboarding a new idea. But I believe I have, I think now 3 storyboarding videos that I've created in the past. So if you want to watch those and see how to do it, I'll go ahead and link all 3 of those videos in the description box below. I know there are a lot of pieces when it comes to plotting your book, so once you have all that written down, if you're wondering, okay, how do I put this all together? How do I make it make sense? How do I get it to flow, right? Then I encourage you to check out my story mind mapping workshop, because in it, not only is it a workshop and a video training to take you through how to mind map your story, but you also get a mind mapping template with an example of how all of this information flows together. So you essentially end up just having one sheet of paper that has everything you need regarding the plot of your book. So just so you know, that mind mapping template works across all genres and for all audiences, as long as it's in the fiction landscape. Another resource I want to mention that is fast approaching, October 1st through the 7th, is the Back to School for Writers bundle. This is the second year that this is being put on. The aim of the bundle is to provide resources from over 30 experts in the writing and publishing space to encourage writers to start, revise, publish, and promote their books by blending practical steps and how-tos for developing your craft and confidence. If you're interested in that, make sure to sign up for my newsletter. I'll leave the link in the description box below, so that way you can learn more about the Back to School for Writers bundle. That is going to conclude today's video on how to plot your book in a day. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead and click that thumbs up button as well as that subscribe button. Don't forget to check out the description box below for all of the links and information pertaining to everything we talked about in this video, and I will see you all next week. Bye!